So welcome to the Android Police podcast. I'm David Ruddick.
I'm Corbin Davenport.
I'm off screen.
I'm Jason Hell.
And I'm Ron Madio, what's up?
And then Ryan is off screen and he's being difficult. Which is very,
as
I guess standard behavior for Ryan. Thank you for joining us for this very special Google I.O. broadcast from our luxurious Airbnb. Hopefully the audio on this is passable, and there's not too much sound of people eating pizza. most of us have finished, except for Corbin, who is eating his pizza.
I need a napkin now.
He's so rude. He's got to get a napkin. So
Corbin
today,
was doing production work. It's
he
fine.
was. Corbin was doing production work, getting everything all set up for us. Today is the first day of Google I/O, and I think there were a lot of announcements.
There were things that happened.
Android Police has posted something like, I don't know, 53, 54, 55 things today.
How did you find 54, 55 things to post about today? I'm amazed.
Well, we have post-traumatic stress. I think that's most of it. I think that's just, we're just tortured.
I wrote 2 articles. 2.
Oh, good job, Ron.
Everybody's very proud.
There's more coming, don't worry.
Please subscribe
So 2 more.
if you want to
Maybe.
appreciate Ron.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Each article is the size of an encyclopedia. But, anyways.
So at Google I/O this year, the theme, understandably, well, actually, I wouldn't say understandably. I wouldn't say unexpectedly either, because Google's terrible at keeping secrets about hardware, at least. We had, I would say, a kind of a bifurcated I/O where maybe half of the show was about hardware and half of the show was about software and cloud and all of that, Google's real software products, I guess you would say. And then there was Pixel 3a and Nest Hub Max. Nest Hub Max, I feel like wasn't that. I don't think people were that excited about it, even though I think it's a good product from what we've seen so far.
They went into some detail on that sucker.
They
They
did.
spent some time on the Nest Hub
I think the Nest Hub Max, especially given how much it costs, is a pretty compelling product. The Pixel 3a obviously got way more attention, and now we all have Pixel 3as.
We do.
Every one of us.
Mine's over there, but yeah.
Yeah, we all have them.
Our Pinathon asked if Jason's Pixel 3a is working.
Yeah, I got that error. I got an error message literally at the very first step of setup. Power up the phone, try and click through it, and just like swirled, and then did the, do you want to force close or do you want to wait?
Should have bought the more premium.
I took a picture of that and tweeted it out. When I dismissed it, it worked. So thankfully it got through that. But a little jarring to see that very first thing ever on a device.
Yeah,
Just saying.
Pixel QA strikes again.
Yeah. It may have had something to do with the fact that I had a Project Fi sim in there. Like maybe that confused it a little bit, but I think they kind of want you to do that. So that shouldn't have been an issue.
No, it really shouldn't have. I've been using it myself for the last week, actually. I've been using the 3A XL. Our reviews is up on androidpolice.com, which you can read now. I think that my takeaway after using the phone was it provides, I think, 80% of the Pixel experience for half the price. So I think it is an outsized value. So if it was half the Pixel experience for half the price, it'd be a very different story. It'd be much harder to defend. But I think for $480 for the bigger phone, you get battery life that's better than the 3XL, noticeably better.
Wow.
You get a camera that's just as good. You get a display that's worse. You get haptics that are marginally worse. You get the same fast charging. You get the same software experience, same 3 years of guaranteed updates. And the sacrifices you make are marginal. Like, there are a lot of things. We've got a whole post on the site where you can, look at everything that's different. But in the end, in terms of what you end up with, I think that you look at 3XL and you look at the 3AXL, 3 years from now, you're probably going to look at those phones and be like, well, they're pretty similar, right? Even though there's a huge, $500 chasm between them.
Yeah, I feel like the limiting factor for upgrades is amount of RAM. And it's already an issue on the Pixel 3, depending on how many apps you're installing.
Yeah.
Especially if you're Artem. I don't know that I would buy a big Pixel phone now. Would anybody?
I totally agree with that. I wouldn't
No.
want anyone to buy one.
And that happens every year, though. We always talk about the 6-month cycle. The Pixels are in that that spot where they're the last premium phones of note to get Qualcomm's high-end chipset of that generation. And the idea being that they're tried and tested and everything, but really they're actually kind of end up feeling a little behind the curve.
It doesn't take very long for that to be pushed down and be last year's story instead of this year's device.
Yeah, I think that's one of the problems. And with these 3A phones, Google's inserting itself into the smartphone narrative 6 months after the regular Pixels at a different price point, though, which I think is to their benefit for the most part. Because it's not like they have a ton of competition, especially in America, at these price points. Like, there just aren't many phones that cost what these do.
What do you guys know about the processor that's in here versus like the top of the line? I mean, it's a newer.
It's very different.
Mid-range.
So I would say the biggest differences are in the CPU and GPU. Everything else is pretty technical, but the CPU only has 2 high-powered CPU cores as opposed to 4 in the 3XL.
Oh, so it's just a 6-core.
It's an 8-core. It has 6 low-power cores.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 big cryos.
That's fun.
Yeah.
2 big cryos, 6 little cryos.
Okay.
Which is weird, but that's how Qualcomm's doing it with these.
So you can do a whole lot of background processing.
You can. It's actually more efficient at low power tasks, theoretically, than the 3XL, because it has all these extra little cores. But the GPU is probably a fifth as powerful as the one in the 3XL. Qualcomm really underpowers their GPUs.
And the resolution is about the same on the display.
It's 1080. Yeah. No, it's 1080p. So it's a quarter the resolution, basically.
Well, from the XL, if you're getting the 3, it's the same, right? Like the
the regular 3. The regular
3
is 1080. Yeah. So if you're getting the XL, it's much lower resolution because it's the 1080p panel versus a quad HD panel. Not a quarter. It's like a half the resolution.
And as the resident super picky display guy, I should note that it is about the same quality as the existing Pixel 3 display, for better or worse.
Yeah, it's not amazing, but it's decent.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So I have the XL, and I mean,
There's no way you're going to notice pixel density issues on that.
It's fine.
So it's half the pixel density? It can't be half the resolution.
No, it's 1080p, so it's 400 ppi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or 1.
And the bigger pixel is 1440p by whatever goofy long resolution.
Which is over 500 ppi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not that big a difference.
close.
It's still better than an
So
iPhone.
you're still asking the GPU to do like a ton of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less though. And I think the other thing is the 3A XL has a significantly bigger battery than the regular Pixel 3XL. It's 240 milliamp hour or 270 milliamp hours thing. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a significant difference in terms of total battery life. So I think the Pixel 3a gets a good 10-15% better battery life than a Pixel 3 XL, which is enough to me to push in the very good category in terms of that kind of performance.
Yeah, the battery is it 3,700?
3,700 milliamp hours, yeah.
Which was bigger than the rumors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite large, and then it still has the same 18-watt USB PD charging, which is reasonably quick for a phone in this price category. Definitely not compared to like a lot of the Chinese phones, but it's decent that way.
Design-wise, it feels pretty solid. I gotta say, like if this is not glass on the back, I feel like they did a pretty good job of
The texture's lovely.
The texture is just right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think they told me when I was briefed on the device, though, they developed a special technique to get that texture out of the plastic,
It just feels like soft touch plastic. It's been around forever.
It feels a little more like glass. The frosted portion has a glassy sort of
You know what I think it is for me? It's that the glass version frosted feels more like plastic to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's weird backing.
It's like the glass on the Pixel 3.
But the 3A is super light because it's all plastic.
Right,
and we're all used to these like glass sandwich phones that weigh 1 million pounds.
Yep, definitely. And the lighter phone is nice. I think that's.
I would have to get used to it more.
Yeah, because now it feels like cheap almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it feels a bit like a Best Buy demo unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't really care. I think lighter is better because, like, if you drop the phone, supposedly it's less like the same damage. We could get into all the little different cost cuts Google did. I think the important takeaway is still that it has the same camera performance on the rear.
That's the big takeaway.
And it has the same OS update promise. So this will get Android S, which is like the Android S is like a corner of a whiteboard at Google HQ right now where somebody's like S and they're
Oh,
like
no.
3. You said the word.
Your phone has no signal.
Shut up, multiple devices.
The amount
Damn
of
it.
cell phones in this room
Yeah.
right now is
So-
crazy.
Definitely not selling drugs.
Yeah, somebody at Google is like, one of the like dots there is like fix share menu on Android S. Like
Yeah.
it's just so far out there.
By
Basically
Android
doesn't-
S, they'll finally have gesture navigation.
Yeah, I
Correct.
think so.
They'll finally copy
Yeah.
the iPhone.
So
Right.
Google's confident enough just to say, yeah, they'll get it. And they're going to get it. So I think that's impressive. And there are no other phones, even premium phones, that can offer that level of software support. People joke about bugs all the time with Google, but I think I'd rather have the newer software, even if it means some bugs, which everybody has bugs. All phones have bugs. So I when it comes to like time 2021, what phone from 2019 is really going to hold up at that point?
With 4 gigs of RAM, I wonder about that statement.
I don't know how the experience is going to be, but it will be functional.
Well, like right now, like there's not a major difference in at least regular usage between this and my OnePlus 6T. Like this is still like a pretty, it opens apps fast. The animations are nice. Like this is.
Give it a month.
Yeah, give it a
raise
month.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, like it's good. It seems good. Also, someone asked. I need to look at the Twitch chat. Eric asked, "Is the Pixel 3a a OnePlus killer?" And then he did the little trademark.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they're still different categories. One is mid-range, and the other is really not.
Yeah.
One is entry level premium. I
Yeah.
would say is where the 6T sits.
And also, so Sasha Smasha asked, "Have we found out what the A stands for?"
Okay, so I asked Google about this. I actually
Good
asked,
question.
Yeah.
and that was their answer. What Ron just said, good question. And
Great,
so
great.
there is nothing that it stands for. So this is very much one of those gobbledygook marketing terms where this like
Google's bad
we
at
want,
branding?
We
What?
want to send something that gives a message of value and also is premium and that aligns with the Pixel branding. And so they're
Cool.
like, well, where should we start in the alphabet? The beginning? And that, I think, really that's what it came down to. Like, it's the Pixel, it made you say A for accessible. Like,
So what's
whatever
missing?
you, honestly, whatever you want it to stand for, it's what the A
A
stands for.
stands for a letter, a random letter.
Yes, A letter.
A.
It's A letter. Pixel 3, A letter.
So what's missing for the cost cutting? There's no wireless charging.
Yeah.
It still has NFC, which is
Yes.
questionable on cheap phones sometimes.
Water protection.
No water.
No
protection.
IP rating. Yeah.
Only one front camera. Boo-hoo. Who cares?
Downward firing speaker. No
Yeah,
dual
single
front facing.
back.
Yeah.
Okay, but stereo downward firing.
Stereo.
speakers.
No. It's mono coming out of the bottom, and then it uses the earpiece speaker to be stereo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so stereo, fine.
Oh.
Yeah. As far as that's what they
So
told
it's
me.
Samsung style stereo?
Yes,
Yeah.
but and actually, it's a pretty decent speaker for a budgety phone. It's not bad at all.
Does it still do eSIM?
Yes,
Yeah, this has an eSIM.
it does
Okay.
have eSIM.
Because
Yeah.
they gave us Project Fi Sims with it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because eSIM is scary, Ron.
It's-
A phone without a SIM?
And they
So
shouldn't have
what's
tied
this-
the promo to anything else.
Could you explain to me? There appears to be a hole at the top of the
I actually
phone for
believe
some.
I believe it's for
don't-
breadsticks. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
It's a straw dispenser.
That's a straw. Yeah, right. It's a straw dispenser.
It's a really large micro SD card slot.
It's a coffee stir caddy. I
As
think
a
that's,
historian, it's for holding your toothpick while you're on the phone.
USB-D.
it's for the Italian market.
Yeah.
It's a headphone jack you can
Yeah.
plug.
It is a headphone
audio
jack. There are these
things.
archaic things that some people own. They use a wire, and you plug the wire into one end. Through a series of cables, it transmits an electrical signal to your ears, and the electricity produces sound.
And why is it on the cheap phone and not the expensive phone?
I think because, well, they're just, I don't know, there's a hole in it already, and what do we put in the hole?
Is
They-
this
Google
for
had no
tailoring
good
to,
reason.
to markets where lower price devices?
No, that-
like maybe
Yeah,
it's
but
just easier.
That's what they say, but Jason, I think it's honestly just the hole was already there, and they weren't sure what to put in it.
Well, if they remove the headphone jack, they could have a bigger battery. Even though the battery in this
Right.
is bigger than the one
Right.
without the headphone jack.
And it'll make the lack of waterproofing so much easier.
Yeah.
No, it was that part on stage was so weird because she was like, "We heard you guys like these headphone jacks."
Right.
I was
We
so
still
salty.
do.
That
It
whole
was
segment.
Is this a
very
purple-
bizarre when they're
Yeah.
they're cracking jokes about. We heard you guys like these things, and meanwhile, their main phones haven't had them.
Yeah, so
years.
inside baseball, we were pre-briefed on the phone, and we talked to.
Don't say we.
Okay.
Everyone's been wrong.
Everyone on that side of the
AndroidPolice.com
couch
was
and
pre-briefed.
this side of the chair. Was
We
pre-briefed.
talked to one of the product guys on Pixel who led Pixel 3a, and I asked him why they put the headphone jack back in. And his answer was basically sheerly demographic driven, where they're like, we look at people who buy phones under $500. They're much less likely to have Bluetooth headphones than people who buy super premium smartphones. So they want the headphone jack. Now, granted, I did not ask the very stupidly obvious question that I should have. I'm just realizing now of, well, doesn't a USB-C dongle just resolve this?
Yeah.
And I really feel very stupid and bad for not asking that now. I'm just like, I just completely failed.
It's
in my-
okay. They
my
would have
task.
just dodged the question.
They would have, almost certainly. But then I asked today, I was talking to Sabrina Tan, who demoed the phone on stage at Google I.O. I asked her, I heard in the briefings, what you talked about on stage today was like, people want headphone jacks. They like them. They want the headphone jacks because they have headphones. They want to plug in their headphones. Shocking, right? Like that there are headphones out there and people want to plug them in stuff like their phones. Because the messaging I got was that this is just for the budget phones, and that, as far as other Pixels are concerned, headphone jack's still dead to them. And I got a much more waffly answer, which is more like, we'll see.
Oh, okay.
That would be
Pixel
lovely.
4 headphones.
We'll see. We're not.
You heard it here first. On the
No,
Android
nobody
Police
heard it.
Twitch channel.
No.
By David Ruddett.
No.
Tweet that.
Exclusive.
Reddit.
Tweet the clip. Yeah.
So can we hold up a purplish and a white one next to each other and have the difference not come through?
Does anybody have a
at
white
all at
one?
Twitch?
My
Did
webcam
anyone
is not
pick
good
up
We
enough.
white?
all got purple. No one got white.
We all got purple.
I
I got purple,
black.
but I have a white.
Pixel 3 XL.
Pixel 3 XL.
Okay, that would be a
Okay.
good demonstration.
So one of these colors is purple and one of them is white.
Okay.
Good
For the
luck.
super high res camera, can you see?
Yeah, very
No.
high
At,
resolution.
at 120p.
Also, one of them is actually under a very severely tilted UV light, so we're not sure which one is actually which.
The purplish one looks like white with the color temperature off just a
So
bit.
the purplish one looks like white, but you're at the doctor's office and you're about to have
Yeah.
you're about to have a procedure.
That
Yeah.
garish fluorescent.
This is your
light.
Right,
this is
right,
this
fluorescent
is
white
they should have
versus-
called it colonoscopy white.
That's good.
Yeah. So it is. So Google did introduce a new color with Pixel 3a.
I like-
It's called purplish.
Yeah.
And it's really just not purple. It's
No.
just not. It's not.
I like Arcthon in the chat was if this wasn't being shot on a potato, we might be able to tell.
Oh,
not
really?
wrong.
Actually,
I'm sorry.
he is wrong. It doesn't matter how good your camera is, you will not be able to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I shot a review photos with the purple one, and it's like, well, it just looks like my camera sucks.
Right.
Because it's,
I specifically asked for black because I don't want to deal with that photography issue.
yeah, black holds its own problems because the plastic gets marred, I think, more
Oh,
easily.
fun.
But it's going to be in a case, so who cares?
See,
Maybe
now
yours.
I can't tell if this is purplish or if this is yellowish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a weird color temperature.
it is. It's very strange. It's very Google to do that, though. It's almost trolly.
Yeah, it really kind of is.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay.
So, somebody's asking a very good question. So, Google showed off today a version of the next generation Google Assistant, which is like fully on-device transcription and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
It looks wild. Like, this is easily the most impressive thing, in my opinion, announced at I.O. today. Like, in terms of like totally changing your phone experience and like really bringing the future to your phone, I think it's pretty important. Somebody asked, what phone were they demoing that on? Because I think a lot of people like looked at like, what is that? What is that phone? Because we didn't look very closely because a lot of us were just like looking at the news and trying to write things down and take notes. If you go back and look at the screen caps, though, you'll find it's a very generic-looking Android phone. There's nothing particularly identifying about it. We talked to some Google PR people today, and the party line was definitely, yeah, it was a very generic-looking smartphone, huh, guys? Maybe a prototype of upcoming hardware. which is
And
almost...
of course, generic is the trademark of Pixel design.
In other words, a very unique-looking Google-designed product. No, so they were definitely demoing it on a dummy box, almost certainly Pixel 4. So probably something running at Snapdragon 855 that Google's testing internally. And the reason they would do that, and from what I've heard, and I talked to people on the Pixel team, talked to people on the Android team, is that the on-device next-generation assistant transcription requires a lot of AI compute power to really perform the way they want it to. Snapdragon 855 effectively doubles the amount of AI compute you can do versus Snapdragon 845, which is what's in the Pixel 3. And I talked to Google today about, everybody wants to know, which devices are going to get next-gen Google Assistant? Because everybody wants that on-device transcription. It's way faster. And it enables new use cases and stuff. And Google was like, it's coming to new Pixels.
Yeah.
What's a new Pixel?
Right.
Yeah. They were intentionally vague about that, it turns out. And it sounds like they don't know if Pixel 3 even is going to be able to do it. They're not sure yet. Pixel 3a, I'm guessing no.
Yeah.
I'm guessing no.
Nah.
Yeah. So it sounds like they're basically saying Pixel 4 will do it.
Yeah.
Pixel 3 will see.
I mean, the Gboard, when it got that offline capability, it looked kind of like the same technology for at least transcription, and that works on everything, right? That's not hardware limited. I mean, it's like just that fast, like the letter by letter transcription of your voice.
Yeah.
I guess
There's the
actions
there's,
behind it were
Yeah,
really smart, too.
there's the other component where it was like opening apps and tapping buttons in apps and filling out information. So
Yeah, the filling out information stuff.
that was wild.
That was, oh man, that whole demo. Honestly, that was I don't know about you guys, but for me, that demo
That was
was the
pretty
one
sweet,
where
yeah.
I was like,
we were going
I
like,
mean,
whoa. Yeah.
whoa.
it is easy to give a crazy voice demo. It's a question of how good does it
Yeah,
work
it was
for
still live though.
everybody else.
Even
in
though
the
they
real world,
tested
yeah.
it all obviously beforehand, it was still live.
Yeah.
Still
it was
live.
real.
And there was one little hiccup where, if I remember correctly, she issued a command. It didn't quite catch it. She had to do it again. But that was about
There
it.
was
And she
also
said send it, and it transcribed send it in the email, and then sent the email.
Well, but if you notice before that, she made another command that wasn't meant to be
Yeah.
in the body of the text. It printed there, and then it recognized
Yeah,
it
no,
as a
it
command
fixed
and
it.
removed
Okay.
it. And
yeah,
did
so
it
I'm
again.
guessing send it didn't go in the
Yeah.
email. I'm
I'm
guessing it
guessing
recognized
so,
the
too.
command.
yeah,
So
you'll see the transcription.
I don't think that
like,
actually was a script.
autocorrect a few steps behind the transcription.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
The only one that
Or,
I
like,
saw was where she
contextually-
was trying to send the picture of the bison in Yellowstone, and she said send it, and it didn't. She had to tap send on the screen, which honestly wasn't that big a deal. It was like, well, yeah, you have to fix that. It's Android Messages probably having a problem there.
The speed at which she was
Oh,
able to
yeah, the
dial
speed of
through
going
that
through
was
tabs.
amazing.
Yeah, it's all because it's happening on device.
Yeah, that's super impressive.
And so the figure Google gave was very impressive. Was they took what normally takes 100 gigabytes of basically voice transcription data in an understanding your voice and compressed it down to 500 megabytes. So it's easily storable on your device. The 500 meg sounds like a lot, but if you're, it's basically you're saying you need 0.5% of the amount of storage you used to. It's crazy.
Yeah,
That-
it really is.
That to me is still where Google leads in a way that's
Absolutely.
unquestioning. That they understand how to make AI and machine learning work for you on your phone.
The crazy part, and they did a blog post about this, is that they're not just making models anymore. They're making models that train models, so it's a black box that came out of a black box. They don't even know how it works.
Nice.
That's how these smaller models are made.
I think that's
Using a model to
perfectly.
train a
I
model.
think it's very responsible to not understand how your product learns about what it learns.
Exactly. It's an even greater layer of abstraction between what the developers intended and what the result is, because it programmed itself functionally in between.
sounds great.
It's crazy.
I don't know.
This
I've
is
been-
how bad things happen. I'm just saying.
I was talking to Googlers today about that, where they're like, "Well, everybody asks every year, what's the most exciting thing it's on Google I/O?" And it's like, well, okay. For me, every year now, it's like I just say Assistant. Assistant is always the most exciting thing because Assistant to me is now Google's product. That is the product.
Yeah.
Everything is a vehicle for Assistant. It
That's
doesn't
true.
matter what it is. It's Maps. It's a Pixel phone. It's Gmail.
Absorbs Android Auto.
It's
Yes.
Apple dropping the ball when it comes to Siri.
Yeah, it's every assistant is they just want whatever they can do to get that engine in your face where it's presenting you something and then using machine learning and AI.
The Star Trek computer.
It is. It really is. And that's all they want. They just what has always stuck with me is what Sundar Pichai said, like, I don't know, like 8 years ago at Google I/O, where he's like, Google's whole goal, and he was introducing, I think, Google Now at the time, is to give you what you want before you know you want it. And that, to me, is still the ethos behind Assistant, where it's just about presenting you information in a way where it's like, oh, yeah, okay, that's what I would have done. Which is creepy, but also eminently useful. It's really proving itself. Like, whenever I go into Google Maps now, it's just like, oh, you want to navigate home, don't you? And it's like, well, yeah, that's what I want. Thank you for suggesting that.
The thing that stuck out to me in that demo is they showed the lopsided gesture navigation bar that you get on a Pixel 3 right now, and they were sticking all the words in the lower right section where recent apps used to be. But that's gone in the Android Q beta. Like, the system bar isn't there anymore.
Let's talk about that.
So that UI is going to have to go away, or the Google Voice people didn't talk to the Android people.
But I liked seeing the preview of that, having that.
I thought it was
embedded
fascinating.
in the UI.
All right, so before we go on the navigation tangent, there are like a couple really quick things we can hit. So first of all, thank you to Ericathon and Arshio for subscribing on Twitch. I think they're both.
We should chill at some
They're
point.
both 2 months. Well, we've been doing pretty good. So two really quick questions. First, someone asked, how are the fabric cases for the 3A?
Almost as good.
I mean,
the same almost.
Basically the same.
Basically,
Yeah,
so
I
basically
don't
the
know.
same.
It's
It's
the
like
iteration.
changing the
Yeah.
shape, but that's really it.
Yeah, just because of the different phone.
There's a headphone jack up top, so it can't cover the whole top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stinks. And also, Solari asked, another person also asked this a while ago. He said, what are your thoughts on the 3A not having the full Google Photo backup quality, like the flagships?
I can't say I care that much personally.
It's just, like, that's a fine trade-off.
Original quality is really only useful if, like, you're pulling these down for, like, editing and, like, Lightroom and stuff. And
Yeah, like
I just don't-
99% of people aren't going to care.
I don't think so either.
The quality that it's saved at and
Because it's still good quality, it's just
Just
diminished
fine.
resolution.
Yeah.
So
I feel like they've really started with the push for Google One. At least, like, a lot of people I know had like promotional allotments of like 200 gigabytes,
Yeah.
and like they all expired. Like, I don't know, in the
Yeah,
past
for
few
Chromebooks
months.
and HTC phones.
Right, so I just had to subscribe to Google One because I'm like, well, I have like 40 gigs in Google Drive, and it's gonna stop working.
I might have to do that because now Dropbox won't let me log in on more than 3 devices.
I just pay for
Right,
Dropbox like
Dropbox.
a normal human being.
Yeah.
Look, I would if they had a tier other than we're going from 2 gigs to a terabyte. I need something in between.
$8 a month.
That's too much.
It's not that much.
That's too much.
I use 400 gigabytes of that 2 terabytes. It's amazing.
But the Google storage I can use for Gmail and photos and everything else.
Yeah, if only
and
the
your
Google.
Chromebook can access it.
Yeah, I just wish Google Drive was good.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Google Drive is terrible. That's
if
the
it,
thing.
If it
It's
was just
terrible.
as good as Dropbox, I could just
It's-
pay.
I
for
can
everything
rely on
and be-
Dropbox to just live sync my
Yeah.
Lightroom catalog on the fly no matter what.
Dropbox
Right,
works
right.
so
It's perfect.
Google Drive is the worst software product I've seen out of the major
The
companies
desktop,
in a
the
really
desktop
long time.
syncing client.
It is.
Well,
terrible.
Says the guy with a Linux laptop.
And
Is there a client yet?
There is not. That's why I switched to Dropbox.
No,
So-
I think it's because Google is just limiting the amount of throughput they want clients giving Drive because it costs them money.
Well, just like it won't,
Okay, but that-
won't stick screenshots on your computer.
That doesn't explain the client just like crashing Windows Explorer.
No, that
repeatedly
reduces the
refreshing
amount of
icons.
throughput you're doing infinitely, and just it's all gone.
yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly. Who needs cloud storage at all? It's fine.
Yeah. I don't like Drive, but I don't think the original quality photos thing is much of a hang up for me personally. So
Yeah.
I think the goal is get every single Google person to subscribe to Google One.
yeah,
They're-
Google wants that
I feel like they're
sweet
pushing it
service
so hard
money,
lately. Yeah,
and I think they're going to get it from a lot of people eventually.
yeah, I actually.
Yeah, I don't think Google Photos will ever allow free 4K video, and at that point, like
Yeah.
people will just be like, "Well, gotta pony up for those memories." I think it's a fair trade.
Those 4K memories.
4K memories.
So I guess I'll show really quick. Hello viewer.
Hello viewer.
Hello people at home. If you like this, please subscribe to us on Twitch.
Buy us pizza.
Yes, buy us pizza. Your Twitch subs go directly to our pizza order. If you have an Amazon Prime, you can give us a free sub. And
Not a sub sandwich.
It's not a sub.
I know we were talking about pizza.
Yeah, it's not a sub sandwich. Let's be explicit on that. It is a Twitch sub, and we have the instructions for linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account below the stream, and it takes like 5 minutes, and then you can click the button, and it gives us money, and it also gives you extra bonus entries in our giveaways, and we do a lot of those. So please do that and make us feel better. And also, okay, so you have like 2 more kind of quick questions. So Larry asked, with the 3A existing now, what will the Pixel 4 need?
Okay, this is a good question.
That's interesting, yeah.
That's a good question. Number 1 for me, multiple rear cameras.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I
think
hate
that's a big
multiple
one.
rear
I think
cameras.
You're wrong,
They're-
Ron. It's
they're
okay, but you're
They're
wrong.
dumb.
The
You're
utility
wrong.
of a telephoto
You're wrong.
is just
The
fantastic.
utility
I
of
want-
a 2x telephoto is fantastic.
Like 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
I want
A periscope and we can talk.
Something up around 70
But-
millimeters or better.
Have you
With a phone
used
link.
the Pixel Zoom feature?
Yeah, it's not as good.
It's
Ron,
awesome.
I've used.
It's cool, but it's not
It's
good.
better than without.
Haven't used
but-
a 3X phone, a 6X phone, and a 5X phone.
Okay, but those,
Super Res Zoom sucks. Like it's not even.
like I
close.
said, a periscope would be fine. The 5x things are periscopes.
Even
right?
using a 3X optical zoom, it's way better than Google
Yeah,
Super
3x
Res
is
Zoom.
fine for quite a lot of things.
Yeah, 3X is good for portraiture. Like it's actually very good for that. So no, I think that's number 1. And I actually talked when I was in my Pixel 3a briefing. I was like, "What's with the dogmatic resistance to adding more cameras to the back of the phone?" And they're like, "Oh, well, it's not dogmatic. It's not about philosophy. It's just we don't want to, we don't need the extra sensor. Why use it?" It's like
Yeah,
that's
you do.
exactly it's the definition of a philosophy. Like it's your philosophy about cameras.
I think the philosophy is it costs money, and we're trying to keep the cost of this down as much as possible. Which is why it
not in
has
the premium
4
phone. Not
Which is why it has 4 gigs of RAM. and
$900
which is why it
phone,
has-
Ron. $900.
Yeah, but made by a low volume manufacturer like Google. They can't get the kind of deals that Samsung gets on these components.
That's true, but like the scale's not that bad. They definitely need to add.
I feel like the
more
spec
rear
sheet
cameras.
of the Pixel is cheap.
I agree.
In some ways,
Yeah, well, the RAM's the other one, right? That's how it's
the RAM's got to go up, and I
Yeah.
talked to them about this, and the sense I got
There's-
was that they understand.
There's no way it's not at least 6.
It's got to be 6 in the new ones.
6 or 8.
Preferably 8. Artem needs 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to see a Pixel phone that does not have a design that looks like a phone from last
Yeah,
year.
I made fun of Artem for being the man who requires 64 gigabytes of RAM. He was like, "Excuse me, it's only 32." And that's where we know where he stands on this issue.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I want to see from the next generation, but I want Face ID. I want actual projection, laser dot. Face
I want an
ID.
in-screen fingerprint reader, right, David?
No.
Those are
No.
great.
Get out!
No.
No!
Get out! There's
Leave!
no- get out.
Leave this
David did
house!
it.
You're not allowed.
No, he's the
Thank
constant
you.
hater on Twitter. You too, but
They're terrible.
I complain.
David just wants an iPhone. I think
No, iPhones have so many. The notifications are so bad.
the notifications
They're
are
so bad. The gestures are so good, though. And Apple Pay is so fast.
Yeah.
Speaking of good gestures,
I want all-screen pop-up camera, in-screen fingerprint reader. You can
All screen fingerprint scanner, I would be okay with.
Yeah.
But the cost of that is apparently ludicrous. Like, it's just not doable.
like a bigger finger scanner.
Yeah, like
bigger
a fingerprint scanner
reader.
that covers the
No,
whole
I
screen.
meant like an all-screen design
Oh, that's fine.
with a
too.
pop-up camera.
That's fine.
I love
The
it.
pop-up camera, I used to be against because it seemed very excessive in a way.
but then
I feel like it's potentially delicate.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
But-
I think if it's proven,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not inherently against it anymore. I don't feel like a
Like
Yeah,
I'm not a selfie person. I don't I'm not going to have it popping up and down 500,000 times
Except
a
to
day.
show someone, hey, check out.
Oh, exactly. That's the only time I open it. Right. The number of selfies I've taken on a Pixel is like in the single digits, probably. I don't care.
You should.
And I feel like the Pixel 3A is a very like camera centric.
Yeah, well,
phone.
it was in like the whole commercial that they showed during the.
And that's
event.
not necessarily appealing to everyone if you don't like some people.
That's why so many
I
people
don't
buy
know.
phones, though.
Yeah.
They won't. That's a huge part of it. They go on to capture memory. I think it's a hugely important part.
I did really like during the event and also that brief commercial they showed was the really hard dig at the iPhone X. With the
with the
they
night
love
sight.
that. The night
phone
sight shade.
X.
For
That
me.
phone
So it's because
X.
they only have like 6 more months they can make that dig because Apple is working on a night photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt.
Yeah,
They can't keep taking that from people. Like of course they're gonna come up.
Yeah. And also, okay, so Eric-a-thon asked, question for Jason.
Oh.
Have you put the Android 10 name to the AP crew yet? If not, what do you think of the idea of of the name being 10, just 10 and not a dessert?
Oh my god,
That's-
they might actually do that.
Well, they teased that today too, right? They showed the 10 that ended up morphing into the letter Q.
Yeah,
right?
the
one
logo's always been
swapped over.
weird.
I mean, Google's going to have to face the fact, if they haven't already, which they probably have, but whatever, they probably already got it figured out, that Q is not a dessert that it comes easy. Maybe it was something like Nestle Quick, and then they have to pay big bucks to do the brand tie-in. But outside of that, then they're going with really obscure dessert names. At least to the Western market, there's a
What's
lot
wrong
of
with Quince? Just call it Quince.
Or they
Everybody
just,
knows what a quince
they
is.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Is it Quince or Quince?
I don't know. I'm
I
curious.
thought it was Quince.
I don't know.
I
If
think
only
I think in the
this was
UK
like
they
a
say Quince.
performance-centric release, the synergy of Android Quick would just be
yeah,
so good.
Yeah,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
right. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But barring any obvious choice, and the fact that it's a nice round number and whatever, I could just totally and the fact that they already showed the 10 morph into the Q, I could totally see the Q morphing into the 10.
Android
Android
10.
10.
I would
And
honestly.
now going forward,
and-
it's numbered.
And Google's been downplaying the nicknames for like the past 2 or 3 years.
And I think that's down to very boring corporate reasons
Yeah.
they do that. Android itself as a brand has been played down. It's not really that important to Google
Right.
at this point as a brand. Not to say the technology is not important, but switching to 10 would mean something very unfortunate that I think we would get no or a very lame statue.
We already get very late.
Yeah, it's true. All the new
Yeah.
statues suck. And it's because somebody at some point high up in Google was like, you can't alter the bug droid. He has to look like a bug droid,
Has to be
otherwise we're
consistent
off
between-
brand.
Yeah,
And that's why they started doing that. Because ever since, like, Ice Cream Sandwich, they suck. Jelly Bean was, like, okay. But after that, all terrible. Oh, no, Kit Kat. Kit Kat was good.
Yeah.
I like Kit Kat. Everything after that was terrible.
I love the jelly bean one, but yeah, like the nougat one was just like the bug droid standing on top of nougat. Like,
Yeah.
Literally, for marshmallow, it's a bug droid holding a marshmallow.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, you could make him an entire marshmallow.
he's the shape of a marshmallow.
He is the shape
Yeah.
of a marshmallow.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we want to be consistent in our branding of the bug
And
droid.
Oreo, the superhero thing. What was that?
Oh god, that was very bad.
Yeah.
I think that was very high-minded.
That was very strange.
That was high-minded, and I think they had some ideas there, and I think the ideas were...
The body should have been a cup of milk, and the head should have been an Oreo dunked in.
Yeah,
There is no
I honestly,
other way.
I think I think the team behind the bug droid designs is doing the wrong drugs. I think that they need to be smoking a lot of weed and doing a lot less mescaline. I'm not saying anybody on the Android team does mescaline, but maybe they do. Yeah, definitely. I did get that sense that with the Oreo one, that was really a huge mistake.
So misguided.
Yeah, really bad. I guess in the end, it doesn't matter what it's called because Google does not seem to care. I don't get the sense they care anymore. Like with Nougat, with that suit, we're going to a random town in France and we're gonna mail a Nougat statue. Well, it's not really a Nougat statue. It's a bug droid standing on something that looks like Nougat. Seriously?
Yeah.
It was just so lame.
I feel the need to present the fact that if they went to a French locale to release this, it's technically Nougat. Just
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were
Yes.
going to say technically the French have to set it on fire, which they should have. They really should have. It would have been much better.
So we were going to talk about navigation.
We were going to talk about
Navigation.
Android Q Beta 3.
Yeah.
Gestures.
It's just shells.
Yeah, so there's how many new features are in Beta 3?
So many.
Are there like
So many.
3
I
or
don't
4?
Way more than we expected.
3
I'm
or
out of the loop.
400.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to go consult
1,000.
AndroidPolice.com.
Really? Okay, so so there's a new gesture navigation thing. There's 3 options now. You can put, if you have a Pixel 3 and have been experiencing forced gesture navigation hell, you can change it back to the regular 3 buttons now, which is super awesome. And then the fully, oh yes, it's on there. It's on there and fantastic. You
Well,
can check.
this is a Huawei P30
Oh,
Pro, so it's
okay.
definitely not on there.
And then what's the new one called? Is it full gesture or something?
Yeah, it's like full gesture.
And is that the iPhone style where it's the bar at the bottom?
They are finally saving space and
Yeah.
minimizing the system
It's
bar.
still,
into this
you know,
little
it's still
strip.
a black bar in the app.
Right, it's still segmented
Yeah.
from all of the other apps.
It's not, it's not like iOS where like when you pull up the keyboard, it's the same color. Or
Yeah.
Fully gestural navigation is what it's called.
yeah.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Ryan, do you want to show that to the audience?
Fully
They can't see
gesture.
one.
Just hold it up to the
in
webcam.
120p.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
No.
many pixels is this?
No,
5?
just go up to the webcam. There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
You can see that.
They
Perfect.
can't see anything.
It's fine.
But there's a couple new gestures, right? So you can pull in from the side to go back.
Beautiful.
And anybody else? How else does this work?
Well, that's the issue.
Well-
is you pull in from the side.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
kind of a swipe up is like take you to your home screen. Swipe all the way up and hold takes you to your multitask.
Yeah, swiping up
Uh,
and holding to open recent apps on the home screen is fun because you start to open the app drawer
Yeah.
and then stop opening the app drawer and then start opening recent apps. It
Yeah.
looks
It's
jank
a little,
and
it's a little
ridiculous.
weird, yeah.
It's like a
From the home
hacked together. OEM.
But it is probably the least bad implementation so far.
Okay, so
right?
And then the
Ron
swipe
is more
from the left and the
pessimistic.
right sides both do back.
I have to say.
You're not allowed to say anything under embargo.
I know, but I have to say I violently disagree. Violently.
No, whose is better though?
with
Compared to.
Google's?
Just anyone?
Yeah.
I think that OnePlus's implementation is better.
No,
'cause this
wrong. You're wrong.
replaces
You're wrong.
every.
You're wrong.
But this replaces every edge gesture with a back. So, like, if you're swiping in to access the menu on the side in Twitter, for example.
Now here's the thing, you're wrong because the experience of using this is way better than any other gesture like implementation I've used on Android.
I don't know. I think OnePlus is. If they had made it swipe up from one of the corners, it would have been fine. Like with the OnePlus.
So the problem. So this comes back to saying that is one of those intangibles that I think it's hard to describe. But if you use an iPhone 10 or later, what you notice with the gestures is the insane fluidity of the home and recent gesture, where it's just like bam, 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 bam. It's extremely reliable.
I think a lot of it is there is a reinforcing animation behind every gesture.
Certainly, and that is what Android Q3 is doing. It puts that really obvious animation and also an insane smoothness behind it, where it's really extremely reliable. Every time you swipe up from the bottom, it does exactly what you expect. The other thing is going to be people aren't used to it, and so if you aren't used to it, trust me, switching to the iPhone 10, like when I did that, like a year and a half ago,
It
that
changed
was
you forever.
yeah. Also, it was a pain in the ass. Like the first week and a half, I was like, "This sucks. I hate navigating the phone this way. It's so annoying. It takes forever to get used to. I'm always looking for my back button. It's not there." It's very much a behavior change thing. And I think once you get used to it, it's going to be okay. As far as the switching the back gesture to the edge of the screen, there's tuning to be done. But Google's is way faster than the other implementations I've seen of this method.
It's not a matter of speed. It's a matter of that's already being used by applications for other stuff. They're gonna have to get developers to change all of their applications.
The whole hamburger and slide out issue, I'm not as worried about, honestly.
Google's been encouraging apps for years to get away from hamburger menus.
Yeah,
But they're not.
I know they're not.
So
but
what they announced now also is developers can reserve sides of the screen as I'm going to use this for like a slide-in panel.
Snapchat.
So don't let the system UI take it over.
Which makes it even more difficult for
So
users to tell when it's going to be one or the other.
Right. So it's going to be more inconsistent depending on what the app does.
Nothing
and,
about this is good.
Yeah, I don't understand what the end version of this is going to be like. It just seems like it's going to be strange and weird and inconsistent.
Right.
And therefore bad.
They'll
Right.
figure it out in Android 11.
I don't believe you guys are right. I think this is by far the best gesture implementation.
Everything's
I've seen on
fine
Android.
except for back. The rest, I agree. I think that's all
Fine.
fantastic.
Eliminate. In my opinion, eliminate back. Just
It's-
get rid of
It's
it.
the
That
best
would be
they've done
fine,
so
but
far.
they need another solution for back.
There's a
The
lot
current one's not
of
good.
There's a lot of apps that rely on back, and like you can't leave without pressing the back button.
So something else needs to be done.
we're back to the what was it, like ice cream sandwich that had the extra button when you were in the soft navigation? What was it that the menu button? The
yeah.
menu button.
Oh, right.
Oh
We're
yeah.
gonna have another vestigial transition period
Yes.
where we have back and we don't have back, and then eventually back will be gone.
So the fun edge cases. Is
No,
that if-
the back button turns into the floating chat head. That's where it goes.
Good. So if you open a keyboard now, the bar will grow in size and turn into the old system navigation bar, so that it can show the down arrow that
Oh my
closes the
God.
keyboard. Do you
Oh,
have
that's
really?
bad.
Do you have a phone somewhere? Try
Hold
it.
on.
It's awesome.
Hold on.
It's awesome. Just
Oh,
you'll get
wow.
the slip
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
and you
totally
open
does.
a keyboard and it gets bigger. It goes to the
You
old
get a
mode.
nav bar.
Yeah.
I don't think Google.
Ooh.
I don't think anybody will ever accuse Google of getting it right on the first try
And then the
with anything.
And then the smart rotation feature is dead now, which I'm the only person on Earth that uses or likes that.
I loved it, but
Smart
it
rotation.
didn't appear regularly.
So
Yeah,
when
I
you
was.
turn
It
the
was
phone
so
sideways.
rarely useful.
Yeah, I liked it when I saw it. When I saw it, I always wanted to use it.
If
But
you
it
have the
wasn't
old
there
gesture
a lot of the
navigation
time I
on.
needed it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was very rarely actually something I
So
used.
for Jason and everyone else, if you have the old gesture navigation on and rotation lock on, and you turn the phone to the wrong orientation, in the system bar, a new icon will pop up that will let you switch the rotation of the phone
Oh, right.
quickly.
In the blank
That's
space,
the way
like
it
the
should
multi-
be.
You have to
That
turn
I
off
can
gesture
use.
nav,
Got
yeah.
it. Got it.
That was in Android P?
Yeah, that was a dream.
Yeah, one version old and it's being killed. So very googly. Other Android Q features? Anybody?
There are a lot. We have them in a list of things that Q does.
A lot of them are very minor. Things like there's
Yeah,
new,
they're very minor.
new video decode, a bunch of new APIs.
Let's see here. There's Dark Theme, obviously. Dark Theme's now official.
That's-
They said
okay.
the words on the stage. It's
So
here.
word on the street is that all major Google apps will have dark mode when Android Q launches.
Yeah, we'll see about
For
that.
various definitions
I'm
of
sure.
major.
I'm sure
Well, then-
Google
okay.
Maps will get right
Yeah.
on that.
Okay,
Yeah,
now
I'm
is
so
this
good
going to be
about
like
it.
when Google said all their apps will be material in time for Lollipop, and it
Yeah.
actually took 2 more years?
The other one is Project Mainline.
Project Mainline is
Big
my
deal.
reason for existing right now.
Yeah.
I've been trying to hunt down tons.
So
of
it's really
information.
esoteric and boring.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's
It's
very
super
cool.
fun. Who wants to hear about Mainline?
Oh man.
Sit down.
I
Oh,
don't.
by the way, Ryan, the people want you to come in the.
That's fine.
Okay.
So
Where? They want me over here?
Yeah, they just want you in the camera. Just
So Project Mainline, if
Yeah.
you
Just pull up a chair and sit behind the couch.
Yeah. I'm gonna
if
be
you want to
hovering
update
right behind
Android
you, making
faster,
weird gestures.
That's
I
very
know.
strange.
If,
really
if you start from the assumption that doing regular OTA updates on Android is impossible, the mainline system is like grabbing clawing bits of Android back from the manufacturers
Yeah.
that you can stick in the Play Store and then update over the internet whenever you want. Google had to make a whole new file format to make this work, because while they've been splitting things into apps lately, not everything fits into an app package. Like Art, the Android runtime, the engine that runs on apps. You can't update that through an app because it needs to be on to run the apps. It needs to start sooner in the boot up process. It needs to have all sorts of crazy, scary permissions. So the new file format for that is called Apex, and there's going to be an Apex manager for these things, for like weird core system modules that Google wants to update, and they're going to be delivered quietly, silently through the Play Store.
That's
kind
unclear.
of.
It's
Yeah.
through the Play Store. I do know that.
And their current selection of things that they grab to update through the Play Store is very strange. We're still trying to get a full list. Nobody has a full list yet.
Yeah, so I think what they're looking at for this first iteration of this feature are things that tend to be very frequently affected by security flaws.
Right, it's totally security focused. So like media was one, so like all the scary stage fright stuff, they could just pump out a new update to fix that.
And it's probably GPU binaries like before with
So
Apex.
the other thing is also that, I mean, manufacturers have a very good incentive to cooperate with this because it's pretty low overhead on them, and also because security flaws are very bad publicity, obviously. Like if your phone's afflicted with security flaw, like you want to fix it. And if Google's like, well, we can get your security flaws fixed faster, most manufacturers will be like, okay, we'll work with you on this. But it still does require cooperation. It also requires cooperation with carriers. So if carriers decide, they want to do certain things, you
can't update your modem binaries.
The list, which we're still trying to get, has some parts of it are mandatory as like an Android compatibility thing, like do this or get no Play Store. So they're ready to swing a stick to make everybody comply, and some of them are optional right now. And what's probably going to happen is that list of optional things will slowly be moved over to mandatory as people get
potentially.
more on
I
board
mean,
with this.
I talked to somebody on the team about this, and like, well, we don't want to force a lot of people to do things, but.
But they're OEMs, and you have to force them to do everything.
Yeah, and it sounds like what they want to do is work with the OEMs to make, even for the mandatory things, as far as I understand it, they want to have a buffer, where it's like, test this, let us know if it breaks anything, and then submit your bugs to AOSP so that we can fix them upstream, so that they don't become affected. I guess what Google started to understand, one of the things we talked to them about was, so WebView used to be this thing that was just part of AOSP. And so manufacturers would build for AOSP, and WebView, which is the system level browser, the web browser, manufacturers could do whatever they wanted to it because it was downstream of AOSP. And so they would only ever get updated if you updated Android. And obviously a lot of manufacturers like 7 or 8 years ago just really did never update Android in a significant way.
And old browsers are super scary.
Yeah.
Like, we need to update browsers on like a weekly cadence,
Yeah.
or whatever Chrome does now.
Yeah.
But what they would do is they implement their own like speed optimizations, energy optimizations, like
The
cookie
Samsung
blocking.
browser.
Exactly. They would do all those things that essentially would transform WebView into their own browser. Basically to juice performance numbers and increase battery life and stuff. Some of these things were legit, some of them were like sketchy. But Google at some point, was like, no, we're taking WebView back. And if you want to ship Google apps, you have to have a Google signed version of WebView now. And all these manufacturers freaked out, and they're like, "Well, how do we have this issue with WebView on our phones?" And Google's just like, submit, a patch in AOSP, and if it's legit, we'll accept it. We'll make the patch. And obviously, there are no experience breaking WebView issues on Android phones in 2019. Right. They don't exist. So it's definitely that situation where they're taking back certain parts of Android where they've decided it's not worth it to let manufacturers be able to customize and tweak this for the sake of saying they have that freedom. It's much more important for Google to have control over that and say, we're signing this for the sake of security and saying that it's got the most up-to-date patches and keep everybody up to date. But it does sound like it's much more messy and case-by-case basis on the back end than the front-end announcement would lead you to believe. The front-end announcement makes it sound very clean-cut and like, oh, well, yeah, every time something gets updated, everybody gets updated. From what I understand, talking to them, it's more like, well, yeah, there are a lot of case-by-case basis things that we're going to have to deal with going through this.
But now that they built this, what you have to hope is that it gets extended to other things.
Right.
Like
It's
for a
the beginning,
company,
you had door opening,
Yeah.
or something else.
for a company that wants to change gesture navigation every single release, maybe put the system UI in that, and you could ship patches through the Play Store and mess with all of our muscle memory that way. And
I really tried to talk to them about that, like, because it's a different philosophy. The idea you're shipping, basically saying you're stripping parts out of the OS and putting them back in kind of to the cloud. We're saying, well, these pieces will be distributed from the internet, and what's on the device, is what we want to be there and what we've certified. So I asked them, like, are there any intentions to like bring this to other parts of Android that are more user-facing, where they'll be able to patch things that are much more fundamental to the OS experience, like APIs, Like, are you going to be able at some point to just be like, we're patching up Android 9 to Android 11 APIs for these manufacturers because we can do that, and it allows certain app functionality that we really want to enable. And the answer was, as usual, really vague. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we'll see. We'll see what we do with this. So I do think probably the hope is there that Google can, in a way, fragment Android for the sake of
Using that
making
word.
phones more secure and more compatible, which is what most people think is the opposite of what you want. But I mean, the point of reducing fragmentation is to increase consistency of experience, and if you can do that in a way where you don't have to deal with barriers of updating the core OS,
Yeah.
maybe that ends up being better.
And so another interesting thing was this Android Q beta is on way more devices, even compared to
Yeah.
last year.
23, in fact.
Yes.
Yes, 23
So-
devices.
There's stuff from Asus, Nokia, Essential, Oppo, Huawei, Sony, LG,
And every Pixel, notably.
Xiaomi. Yeah.
Including the
Including
Pixel 3a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why it disagrees with the 21 that was quoted during the keynote, because they forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird of them to do that.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember who told me this but someone pointed out that Huawei has this strange limitation because they're now hostile to people unlocking their bootloaders, where you have to be a developer with at least one app published on Google
Oh my
Play,
God.
or they won't give you an unlock code.
Did you guys see the Huawei one on the beta? It's skinned.
It's
Like they are on
skinned.
top of stuff. Oh yeah, it is. It is
my
running
God.
fully.
Wow, EMUI.
Yeah,
Jordan was telling me that the Asus one is also skinned.
yeah. It's in the sandbox. They have every phone in the sandbox.
Wow.
You can go around and play.
I
with
didn't
them.
actually play with them. I saw them there.
Yep,
but
it
I
is.
didn't play
It
with
is
them.
skinned. They're pretty far ahead. The power of Project Treble, maybe that's.
That's possible.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm trying to think.
Other interesting features that I'm right.
We're still digging
Come
through.
on,
Yeah. I know.
Man.
you're 75 articles.
I barely got to watch any of the keynote, and I was at the keynote.
Well,
Yeah.
so like we all have the build, and like we can kind of flip through it and try to find stuff, and there's not much. It really doesn't
A
seem.
lot, well, there is a lot, but a lot of it's very minor because they were talking
Yeah.
about a lot of new APIs. If you were there for the developer and the what's new in Android stuff, they talked about a lot of like low level stuff. that
Yeah,
is new.
it's more the stuff they've been doing for the past couple of years, like deprecating all the stuff that was never intended to
Yeah.
be used.
Yeah,
A
that
lot
was
of
a
developer
whole,
facing things.
Real
like new
APIs.
in beta 3. You can long press on notifications in the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
looks
did. I
different.
did like the focus mode they showed off. That was neat. I want that on my computer. Actually, that's where I need it the most. But that was
Right,
cool.
they talked about stuff that isn't in this build. There's a
Yeah.
parental control.
I was going to say
option.
Family Link being kind of dropped into the settings.
Yeah.
There was the
And-
text recognition speak back thing. What was it?
Yeah, but it's not part of Q.
accessibility
I don't think it's
stuff.
part of Q.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
not part of Q,
okay.
it's not part
That
of Q.
caption thing was like the other part. That was like, whoa. That's
It was.
cool.
So what we're talking about here, is it live caption or
Yeah,
live?
that's what it's called. Live
Yeah.
caption.
So the idea is that basically anytime your Android phone is playing audio or video, you can press a key combo on your phone and it will start a live overlay.
Well, it was a button in the volume.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'll start a live caption overlay,
Right.
which is crazy.
Including the camera. So you could
And
just,
it's
like, hold
all
it right
on
up
device
to-
recognition, right?
So
Yeah.
if you're a big social media user, like on Instagram especially, what you'll notice, like if people do stories, a lot of time like they just do a selfie cam video where they're saying something, and it's like, yeah, I don't really want the volume on to listen to this.
Right.
I just want to know the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Or
And-
if you're addicted to watching weird Chinese propaganda YouTube stuff at 12 in the morning and you don't want to wake your girlfriend up.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common too. And so for those use cases, maybe you just want something like this is golden, because the issue is not so much that like YouTube obviously has closed caption. YouTube has had closed caption for years.
He's watching.
I think the thing is, this is something that it's part of the video experience on TV that we've had for years, where it's been there. And it's so obvious. I think once I saw it, I was like, wow, I'm really surprised phones actually didn't already do this. because I never really thought about it though. It was one of those things that like came to me intuitively. But once I saw it, I'm like, oh well, yeah, duh. And of course, the accessibility implications are really profound.
They're huge.
I mean,
Huge
it was
focus on
primarily
accessibility.
pitched for accessibility. Like, I don't think
So
I don't
I
think you're going to be able to access it that.
so I
easily.
wanted not to
Oh,
derail,
yeah.
but
No, I'd be surprised.
Well,
I
like
bet you are.
you'll have to go to accessibility settings and like turn
Enable
on a
it,
thing,
yeah.
and
I
it's going
doubt
to
it.
change your.
I really
volume
actually
settings.
doubt it. I bet this feature seems like it'd be so popular just
You
generally.
think it's going to be built into like Android Q or whatever? where
Just
they're gonna
in the
change
volume menu,
controls?
maybe.
It might.
yeah.
Well, how many times have I
Was it-
flipping through a feed, just on like a social network, and that social network has already transcribed the video, and
Yeah.
I don't even touch the volume. I
Yeah,
just
like
read it, and
YouTube does that.
I realize I'm stuck there for like minutes,
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
instead of listening.
Yeah,
So-
you know what Google
It's
wants?
that-
They want engagement.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Love
that
engagement.
YouTube homepage that gets you every time.
It does.
I want to point out this is an amazing moment for the Android Please podcast because Artem is in the chat.
Which
That's
means
weird.
he's watching,
Wow.
which means we have to stop talking
He's
shit.
he's watching.
So if we pretend to end the stream, he'll come in and he'll be on camera,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
and we'll
That's
get
how you
him
do
on
it.
the podcast.
Yeah.
Other features, anything?
I mean,
So
slim pickings.
the other thing I've been chasing is this crazy. Is it dynamic Android? What is it called? This live boot. So if you've ever
Yeah.
installed Linux, they have this like kind of live CD thing or live USB key where you can like just boot like a different version of an operating system and use it on your computer for a bit
Yeah.
without affecting anything.
And try it out. Yeah.
And Android is kind of working on something similar to this, where you like right now we have to destroy all of our phones to load the beta version on, but like next year, I guess you'll be able to temporarily load the next beta version on your phone without like affecting the underlying regular version of Android. And the fun part about this apparently is that it's going to work on phones with unlocked or with locked bootloaders because it's not going to change the software on the phone.
It's just like booting
so
to a
You'll just be able to
sandbox.
temporarily
Yeah.
boot like a different
Interesting.
image.
Now
Yeah.
I'm excited for that because every time a beta comes out, everyone always complains that Android Pay is broken. I'm like, have you learned nothing the past couple betas? Like it's always been like this.
Right. So it'll be nice for just any developer or us or whoever to just temporarily load Android on a phone and try it out and then get rid of it and have Android Pay work again and have gestures that don't crash and bug out and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And another small thing that I was kind of happy about is Android Q will have built-in support for that fancy new AV1 video codec
Yeah.
that
Oh,
Google
yeah.
and those other companies been working on. And
5G support, they said that.
Yes.
It's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
support
Oh,
all 5,
Because
which
they
means
need more
nothing.
marketing.
You're right.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
Qualcomm sent me a press release about that,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a lot of bullshit. Here. A lot of bullshit."
You need to stay in the news cycles, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nothing interesting. What they talk about with 5G is basically the fact that 5G sucks in the sense that you have to explicitly call out applications when you have a 5G connection of certain performance characteristics in order for them to take advantage of it the right way, which is one of 5G's big problems, actually. It's not something to crow about. It's actually an issue where 5G is not signaling.
The latency's too low.
It's more like 5G has this problem where they decided that they wanted to have a 1-bit signal for determining what kind of connection you have in the status bar. And so that just means communicating, is it 5G or isn't it? Like it's yes or no. And what carriers initially were advocating for was a multi-bit signal where it's like type of connection. And that would make it much easier to signal at the OS level, like what's available. But instead now, you have to have apps that are like wanting to test 5G, yes. Well, test against and see what it can do and then decide like what kind of capabilities the app has.
What goes wrong? Do apps think you're not on the internet?
No, it's more like, so if you were to have a 5G specific use case app, so live AR over cloud.
Something that uses the super low latency to
No
go
one's
5G.
ever going to do
It
that.
has to have high throughput and it has to have very low latency.
Okay.
And that's the idea. You have to be able to send all the data up and get it back very quickly on a big pipe. And so you have to be able to know that your latency is super low and that your throughput is acceptable. And so Android would probably need its own flags to be able to test for that before deciding it wants to provide you this experience, which is really just, like I said, a sign of how bad the 5G experience is going to be to start, where they have to like, oh, well, if you want to use 5G the right way, we need to have a flag in the OS where your app checks to make sure it's getting the right 5G experience.
Sounds great. The more I learn about 5G, the better it sounds.
Yeah, I think everybody says that, actually.
Revolutionary.
And actually, we didn't go through any of the. So Android Auto is now in the Google app. That's
not
sort
true.
of.
No.
Yeah.
So the Google app is getting something called Assistant Driving Mode. It looks a lot like Android Automotive or Android Auto on your phone in the phone mode.
Okay.
It has some extra stuff in it. It sounds like Google eventually wants to place Android Auto phone mode with this assistant driving app.
No, Android Auto is going away. The app.
No, well, they said Android Auto was going away unless you had it in your car, that's
what I mean. The standalone Android Auto
yeah,
app
the
is
standalone
going
experience.
away.
Standalone Android
If you
Auto
have
on
a
your
car,
phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So instead,
But
it's like
that-
assistant with auto features.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It basically
But
reproduces all of the functionality.
They're saying you still will have the Android Auto app for projected mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you use it in a car, it won't make any difference. But if you're using just the app on your phone in a dock, it's going away.
So is the newish version of it any better than what we already have in the?
It sounds like there are
version
some
that
new
we're on?
features, but I wasn't really paying close attention to what they are.
Well, it's not out yet.
Well,
Yeah, it's not out yet.
It
But-
was
but
a
are they
more. It was
showing it off.
It was a more like predictive version. Like they had, like the example they used was that if you were listening to a podcast earlier in the day, this new mode has a button that will take you right back to that podcast where you left off. So
It's so like closed off though. If you're listening to a
Yeah.
podcast through Google Podcasts,
yeah, I know. It's
it will
like
resume your podcast.
the
Yeah.
most useless. Podcast.
If you're listening to music over your YouTube Music Red,
Yeah, Google seems
Premium
so
subscription.
convinced that Google
It
Podcast
will
is going to
resume.
become ubiquitous. Like, well, yeah, of course, we got Google Podcast.
Is there an
baked in.
app yet?
Everybody
for
knows what that
podcasts?
is.
there's an app
Oh,
that
wow,
launches the part in the Google app.
God, yeah. Yeah, how many features does the Google app have now? It's going to be
Yeah.
all-consuming your entire...
It's-
Oh, no, Ron. The Google app will eventually become its own operating system.
Right, it's
So-
almost that
big.
big. It seems like.
It is, yeah. No, I
The
mean,
assistant, your
Yeah.
home screen.
I'm not actually
Android Auto
joking
stuff,
that much.
recent
Yeah.
apps.
Well, it's like
All the voice
it's
commands.
like how Google is about to hit like the upper limit of how many like functions an APK can have with
Right,
the Play
yes.
with the Play Store.
Well, no, you can
Library.
break those out into
Yeah.
sub
Yeah.
things.
Running
But
into
na-
like
now-
variable
but
number
yeah.
limits or something.
Yes.
Yeah, but now like well, the first was like that Play Store developer or the Play Services library. Now the next one to do that's going to be the Google app.
Yeah.
It's just going to do everything. Also, another nice thing was you can now tell your smart display stop. To stop.
Oh,
Yeah.
almost the biggest news of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite possible.
There were a
Yeah.
lot of people clapping when that was announced.
I felt the same way. Almost the biggest news of the day, which told me, man, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, everybody understood.
But
They're
right,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yes,
We all felt
yes.
the pain. We felt the pain associated.
It's almost like that
with
was a basic feature it should have had at launch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and all that stuff's getting renamed to Nest.
Ooh.
We
Yeah,
talked
from
about the
Home
Nest
to
Max.
Okay,
not,
Nest.
not the rebranding
Oh
of
my
all
God.
Google Home stuff to Google Nest.
That branding will be the death of me. I'm already mixing up words.
and whether it's going to be called a Nestcast still might be up in the air.
Oh my
It,
god.
they were talking about that. The Chromecast was on the slide behind them when they were talking about it.
Oh, that would be
Yes, I
bad.
know. That's funny. Now they've got like 3 generations of branding. They've got the Chromecast and then the Google Home and then
But
the
they just call it the
Nest.
Nest Dingle.
Oh wow.
Oh, no.
So I asked, and they will not change the G on the back of the Home Hub to an N. It's just gonna stay a G. 'Cause that's the only branding on it.
Yep, that's true.
It's like it sort of defeats the purpose of the Nest branding. Because I thought the whole point there was like Nest has a more secure feel to it, or
And
a
it's
more secure
premium,
And
brand.
trust
it
me,
has
you're
a
going to
monthly
feel a lot
fee.
more secure about Google Home once it's called Nest Home.
I mean, the hope is that the Nest app dies. If we can just have the Nest
Yeah.
app go
Well, that's-
away
that's
forever.
Yeah,
true.
that's-
That'd be good.
That's the other thing, is that now they've renamed this so that, like, if you have someone familiar with Nest and they're like, oh boy, there's this new Nest display I can buy. Now they have to use two apps because they haven't transferred the software to match the new branding. And now is the Google Home app going to be renamed for the third time? That's the other question.
It was Chromecast
It
and
was
then
Chromecast and then Google Home, and now is it going to be Nest? Nest
Oh,
Home?
okay, yeah. So you set up your Nest Home with the Google Home app, not
Yeah.
the Nest app.
But then you manage
Get
it.
that right.
Then you manage it from the Nest app.
But you can access the Nest Cam from the Google Home app or the Nest app.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's not confusing. This is very good branding. Good job, Google.
Was that it? Did we run out of announcements?
I think so.
I don't think
That's all. That's everything that's big, at least.
Yeah, everything that mattered.
all of the what do you expect from Google I/O articles that everybody wrote. They were all right. They pretty much ran the list down from
Yeah,
top to bottom, and they packed it up. A quick, clean 90 minutes and left.
I think so. And if you've made it this far in our podcast, I would encourage you to go to twitch.com/Android Police.
Right
so
there.
smooth.
If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get one free Twitch subscription per month if you subscribe to our podcast. Not just follow, subscribe, which you can do for free. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you help support the show monetarily. Again, it doesn't cost you any money. If you have subscribed in the past, this is just your friendly reminder to resubscribe as your subscription expires every month. We do thank you for supporting the show, and also a big fat Pixel 3 XL notch drops down if you subscribe during our live show.
It does.
Which is great. We love that little video flourish, and we thank you all for listening.
I resubbed while we were streaming, so
Good job, Corbin.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for resubbing.
I
You're setting
clicked
an
the button.
excellent example for our listeners here on the show.
I did.
And I think it's fantastic. So this has been our live from Google I/O episode, and we want to thank Ron Amadio from Ars Technica, Jason Howell from Twit, All About Android. Both of you
guys.
can say where you can find you, what you're doing.
ArsTechnica.com. I will be living and breathing whatever that mainline stuff was for the next. I'm going to be mainlining mainline. And Twitter.com/RonAmadio, I guess.
Right on. Twit.tv for all of our shows at This Week in Tech Network. Twit.tv/AAA for All About Android. And I'm on Twitter at Jason Howell. Thanks, you guys.
And I highly recommend All About Android. Great show about Android. And I highly recommend reading what Ron writes. Because it saves me so much work about having to actually learn about the thing. That
And
is
we
my
don't need to
job.
write prior coverage. We can
Yeah,
just
it's
review it.
fantastic.
synthesizing all this for us.
Ron's does come about a week late, but it's usually a pretty good
I'm
pretty
here
good
to be a
analysis.
sponge, and
Yes.
I'll write on the plane.
Ron the human sponge.
Ron does the good words.
He does. Ron does do the good words. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next whatever.
I think in 2 days we're gonna.
I don't think we do our podcast in
Maybe
2 days.
We'll see.
We'll catch you next week.
Maybe.
Now I have to get up and stop the stream.
Yeah, that's really clumsy,
This is
Corbin.
the post.
I can't believe you figured out how to do. Didn't have know how to do.
They're all
Did
narrowly
you-
escaping the vision of your butt crack, Corbin.
Did you-
No, it's not.
And now they get it!
We're back. My butt is not on the stream.